Hello YouTube and welcome to lesson 6 of After Effects tutorial. So now today we are going to continue with where we left off. So today we are going to cover on text and some effects that we can use to make the graphics seem a little better. So the main tool that we are going to cover up today is this tool right over here. That's the text tool right over there. So I'm going to simply choose the text tool, and then what I can simply do is I can start typing it. I can just click on an empty space over here in the composition, and then I can simply start typing it. Let's say tutor tube. Okay, so now I can go over to my selection tool and I can move this around. Of course, I can resize this, right? These are the basic controls that we covered up in last tutorial as well. Let me just correct that spelling error of mine. Okay, so now we can do some awesome stuff with this text. Okay, so once we have the text on our screen, what we can do is we can go to Windows and then we can choose the character option right here. I have it enabled right over here, so I can use this in order to change the things on my text over here. So now the first toolbar over here, that it says Myriad Pro, that's the font I chose for this text right here. So I can go inside and choose the text I want. For example, I can simply choose summer, or I can choose, let's say, stencil, or I can choose the text I want. Let me just choose a common font, and that is let's choose Arial. Okay, so this is a very common font. So now what else can I do with it? Once I choose a font, I can go over here and choose the subgroup of the same font. So I can choose a narrow Arial font, an italic Arial font, and maybe bold Arial font, and so forth. So I'll just choose narrow over there. What else can I do with it is that I can also choose a font size from right over here, or I can simply drag to resize the font right from the characters panel right over here. So now if I were to have two lines, let me press enter and let me just add in another line over there. Let me just say tutor free lessons. Okay, so let me just put this over here. Now here I can simply click and drag to arrange the space, the top and bottom space of the two letters. So you can simply click and drag to arrange the space right here. I can also do this. That's the horizontal space, and this is the vertical space. So this is what I can do as well, right from over here. What else can I do is I can add in strokes maybe. Like let me just choose some color over here so that you can see what I mean. So now the color of the text is white. This is the main color, so I can simply choose any color I want, and as you can see that it changes in the background. I can simply press OK, and I can choose a stroke which I can actually apply to this text as well. So I'm simply going to select that, then click that, choose text such as red. So you can actually see the stroke outside the text I chose. So I can increase the stroke size now. So I can increase and decrease the size, as you can see over here. I can even choose one from the drop down menu over here. So this is stroke over fill. I can simply choose fill over stroke so that it actually does not cover up the text so much. I can also choose the other options as well as you want it. So now about this one, this is the height of the text that you want it to be. This is the height, and this is the width of the text. And this one actually moves the position from left to right. So you can actually move the position right like this as well. You can contract the text or increase the text size from right over here as well. So now here are some more options that we can play around with. So I have flux bold. It actually bolds the text a bit more. This is an italics. This is all caps, so everything you type will be caps. And this is you get the capital letter, and still it'll be followed by the capital letter, but the ones you type in small letter will actually appear to be smaller, so you get a cool effect right over there. You can click this to make it smaller. Okay, that's like the superscript and subscript right over here if you want to do that. So maybe I can also like select some portion of the text and press superscript or subscript. It is just like Microsoft Word if you are used to Microsoft Word. So anyways, so this is how you can play around with the text. And this is from the characters panel. Okay, I can also switch. One more thing is that I can also switch over from stroke color to the fill color. I can simply switch two of them just like that. Or I can click on this, set to black, and you can see that it actually goes back to a default color. So I don't actually need to go in and select the colors by myself. So let me just choose another color over here, the color that I like. Let me choose green, and maybe I'll just choose yellow right here. Okay, so that I have this kind of a text effect. So this is what the character does. This is what the character text does. There are some more things that we can actually do over to the text right here. So we are going to see some more effects which you can apply to make the composition look more beautiful and more appealing to the users. So now this is the character tab which we can use to actually change the font color and font size and everything else. We have another panel over here that's known as paragraph. I have mine enabled right over here. So I can align the text to the left. All right, so it is align itself to the left, align it to the center. Okay, this text moves a bit, but that is what happens when you actually align the text. And you can align it to the right. As you can see, it aligns itself to the right. So what else can I do with it actually then? So these are some of the other options which I have, which I can tinker around with so that you can see some more effects. But if you notice, these options over here are actually disabled. And to do that, we need to actually make a text box and not just rely on the text. So I'm going to delete this out. So I have my text over here. And if I were to just click over here, I'll get the regular text. I do not want to do that. I want to make a text box. So I'm going to delete this right here. I'm going to drag. I'm going to just select the text tool. I'm going to drag a text box, as you can see right here. And then it actually makes a text box. This is how you do it again. So you select the text over here, the text option, simply drag it, and you actually get a text box. And you can see that the options here are enabled when I do that. So this is tutorial, and this is lesson 6. Okay, so let me just select all of it. I can align it to the center, align it to the left, and I can increase the font size. Maybe I can increase the font size. I can even leave these to auto. If I were to leave it to 0, then it's auto, so that it automatically aligns itself as you want it. Or you can also manually change the size if you want. It's actually according to you. So if I were to have tutorial lesson 6, let's say learn lesson 6, learn for free from anywhere. Okay, let me just see the text. I can even, like, let's say, resize this, resize the text anywhere in the world. Okay, let me resize the text. Let me press Control A or Command A on Mac so I can select all the text. I can reduce the font size, and you can see the effect right over here. So what can I can do right now is, now since these options have also been enabled, I can align it to the left, align it to the center or the right, or I can simply justify. You have this option right here when you actually justify. So this is a sample sentence that I am going to use for this tutorial so that you can learn how to use the text tool. Okay, so now once I do that, you can actually see that the text has been aligned because I'm selecting this option right over here. So I can select the text, and you can see that if I were to align it to the left, you have this kind of an effect. which is not aligned. This might be useful in some cases. So I'm going to select the text again, so I can center align it, right align it, or I can simply do this and it actually tries to justify everything else. It doesn't matter, like, okay, the text tool, let me add in properly, okay, right? So that is what it actually does. Okay, so that is what it actually does. If I were to do this again, and what it does is it aligns everything to the left. So I can go over here, I can select this, and then I can drag this out to get the effect I want. So you simply have to play around with this a bit so that you get the hang of it. So let me just keep everything to the default so that it actually has a regular rectangular shape right here. So now this is what you can do with a text. So you got a lot of options in order to play around with the settings you want. So there are a lot of options you have to actually design the text to look as the way you want. So now we are going to look at some other effects which I actually can use, and these effects are actually common with Photoshop as well. So now for that, from the previous lesson, if you remember this, we actually are going to work with a solid layer. Okay, so we are going to work with a new solid layer, and then we choose the color we want. Let's just choose, let me go for a fun orangey color, or maybe a trustworthy blue color. Okay, so now let me just press OK, and that's the regular color that we have, that's plain out of sight. So I'm going to type in a text, make it look a bit more fancy. So I'm going to drag a text tool so that I actually get a text box to work with. So this is tutor tube, and the text, okay, let me type it in small letter, tutor tube. And if you can see that this text color does not go well with the blue background. So I'm going to make it white because that's the common color. I'm going to disable the stroke color. So I'm going to say no stroke color. I'm going to select this and press this little icon right over here. So I can increase the size of the text. And then I got this right here. Maybe I want to add in some effects to this text now. So what effects do I have in choice? Okay. So now if I were to right click on this tutor text layer right over here, I get a lot of options, and the thing we are going to look at today are layer styles, because that's where we get effects. This is common with Photoshop, so if you're familiar with Photoshop, you may be easy to grasp this along with me. So anyways, I'm going to use a common effect called drop shadow, and if I do that, you can see that there's a little bit of shadow right over here. And once I do that, I get another property here below the layer that says drop shadow. So I can expand this, and I can actually play around with the effects. I can play around with the distance, and as you can see, this also has stopwatch right over there, so you can animate this as well. So I can increase the size, decrease the size, whatever. So I get this tutor tube. Okay, so now what else I can do is I can also apply this to any of the layers. So I can right click, I can go over to layer styles. I'm going to use something called inner shadow over here. So I'm going to go over to the inner shadow and increase the size. Let me just increase the size. Let me keep the distance to 0, okay, so that it's equal across all the edges. So I'm going to increase the size of this, and as you can see, we have a gradual gradient right over here that makes the video actually look good. So you can do whatever you want from this. So you can also try out other effects. So let's go to tutor tube and then go over to layer styles. Let me try bevel and emboss, which makes the text look a bit more 3D. So I'm going to go over to bevel and emboss and then increase the size a bit so that it looks much more of like a 3D text. So you can choose the amount of 3Dness you want. So I have the depth. Let me decrease the depth because I do not want too much of an effect. Just a subtle effect will do. Okay, so now this is how you can actually play around with all of the text features, and then you can also have in some of other effects as well. So I'm going to make a simple animation out of this and export it so that the animation actually looks good. So let me add in a keyframe over here. But before that, I'm going to duplicate this. And to duplicate this, we actually press Control D. Okay, so I'm going to increase this in size. Okay, and then maybe put this at the back. Okay, I'm going to reduce its opacity. So I'm going to go to the transform tool, reduce the opacity to give it a bit of an effect that I want. Okay, so and I can also blur this out. I just want to give a background effect so that the animation does not really look boring. So now I'm going to go over to the effects panel. I'm going to use Gaussian Blur. So let me just drag that onto the background layer right over here. Let me increase the blurriness so that it actually blurs out a bit so that it does not affect the front layer right over here. Okay, I'm going to add a keyframe onto this and drag it from left to right. So I'm going to click on position and then go over here at the end and drag this out right about till here so that I have a background animation right over there. And I want the tutor tube to appear from the top. Okay, so now I want the tutor tube to appear from the top. So I'm going to keep that at the top. And then I'm going to add in a keyframe to, let's say, position. Okay, and then I want it to appear within 1 second. So now I'm going to drag this down so that it actually comes over here at the center. Drag this to a bit of left. Okay, so a bit to the left. Okay, so this is where I want it. So now this is the animation I want. Okay, so once it renders, once the RAM preview is complete, you can see the actual motion it comes in. And I also want to add in the ASIN so that it looks more natural. Okay, looks in more natural. All right, so this is how you actually can make some cool looking animations and add in a design to your animations. So now what else? One last thing that I want to show to you guys before we end the video is this one right over here. You can actually see that there are boxes right over here. If it is disabled, then try to expand and collapse the layer switches panel here at the bottom so that you get the effects that you want. So now I'm going to enable this right here at the corner, and then you can see a little thing like an icon which says motion blur, which is actually quite common in a lot of animations. And we are going to go about this in depth in further tutorials as well. So now I'm just going to enable this and you can see what actually happens when I do that. Now, if I actually were to turn this on, okay, I can turn it on to everything, but I do not really need that. You may not actually be able to see the effects right away, right? But when I render it, I actually get the effect. You can actually see like a blurred effect. And if you have a graphics card, you can see this right away as well by clicking on this icon. So if I were to click this, you can actually see that the blur effect has taken place. So I can simply play the animation and you can see that the blur effect takes place. And we can control the amount of the blur as we want, but that's not what we're focusing on today. This animation quite looks good already because of all the gradients and everything else. We got the background elements and everything else. So now I'm simply going to render out this video. Let me go to project, let me select the composition, and then let me go to file, export, add to render queue. You get this option. Let me go over here onto, let me disable the audio again. We do not need audio because we don't have audio yet. All right, so now we're going to select, let's go for QuickTime, then S.264, that's it, press OK, and then go over onto, let's rename this to tutorial 6, press save, render, and that's it. And that's the end of the render. So let us navigate to that folder. Let me go over to my file. Let me go over to TutorTube, and then that's tutorial 6. So let me open it with VLC Media Player, and let's wait for it. this is the final video. And as you can see, we got the motion blur and you got the background animation. So you can make some cool animations just like that. It's not very hard. So this might get some time to get used to, because like to get the visual feel and everything, you need some time. Then you'll be natural at it. So now if you stay tuned for more of the tutorials in the upcoming future, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe.